Know this. Introducing the original Blood Clot podcast, not players. Soothing semantic. Special dedication all the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT semantic. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing semantic. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man now. Soothing semantic.
On another episode of Soothing Semantics, I am your host, Rafi Pinsky, and today, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and here we go. Today we have Eyal Melamed, the Zohan. Hey, how's it going, brother?
Zohan is because of my accent, right?
That's true, yes. No, I'm gonna honestly, I've had other Israelis and I haven't done. I don't know, for some reason. You're the Zohan real estate agent.
I take it.
You put hummus on your toothbrush. Nachon?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. Okay. So Eyal and I met up probably, I would say, close to a year ago. We met at a Shabbat or Sabbath meal, and Omer cooked all the food for the most part. Amazing food. Whoever he gets married to is might get very fat. It's a problem. Yeah, he cooks awesome food. So that's the story. So we met, and Eyal was already in real estate for a lot longer than I was. I was a newbie, and I still am. And he's doing very well. And as you know, I'm always trying to get people in real estate and mortgages anywhere in the finance world onto my show to discuss different things and learn from them. So coming from Israel, okay, obviously you started as a realtor in Israel, you moved over here. What was it like being a real estate agent there versus here?
That's a great question. So, yes, I was born and raised in Israel, but then when I was about 21 years old, so I moved to Canada to join my parents who left Israel, and they decided to live in Canada for a few years. I lived in Canada. I did my BA in economics, and I didn't like Canada so much because of the weather.
It's cold.
So, yeah, I moved back to Israel. I lived in Israel then 5 years, and I did my MBA in University of Tel Aviv. And I was looking what I want to do with my degrees and with my experience and everything. And then I decided to go into real estate to be an agent. That's I think to be an agent is something everybody can start. Like you don't need to have tons of money, or you don't have to, at the beginning, to have so much experience. You can try. So I became a real estate agent in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And for about 3 years, I learned everything I know now. I did in Israel. So I was an agent in the center of Tel Aviv. I did mostly rent because to sell an apartment in Tel Aviv, it was too hard, too complicated. So I did mostly rent.
Why is it so complicated?
Because you need to be experienced. And as I said, I was a new agent. And in Israel, it's like a jungle. Like to be an agent is not just to sell homes. It's like you need to be a detective, and I tell you why. Because people sign for you that if they buy an apartment or sell from you, they will pay you commission, right? And you have everything signed, like you learn how to do it. But then you find out that people close deals behind your back. And I found out a few times that people that I show them places, they just tell me, no, we're not interested. And eventually, after a few months, they didn't get back to me, they didn't call me back. I passed by the house, if it was an apartment, and I checked, and I see on the mailbox, they have a new family name, like the same client that I showed him. It was weird. I called the client, and I said, did you close this apartment, which you told me you don't like? He said, no. Like, he was pretending naturally, like in very self-confidence, that he didn't close that apartment. But I said, yeah, but I see your last name on the mailbox.
It's a very confident lie.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Well, they're taking that to the grave with that shit.
And
okay.
Don't think I dealt with like bad people. Like some of them were lawyers and accountants and people super quality. Whoever lives in center of Tel Aviv, they're very wealthy and they're doing well. And if they have the money to rent in Tel Aviv, they have good jobs. So those people just like lied to me. And I found out on a few of them, but I'm sure that some of them I missed. And it's so hard to make a deal anyway. So finally you do a deal and then they try not to pay you commission. So that was like very hard, but challenging 3 years of being a real estate agent in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And I was struggling and I did okay, but I wouldn't say super well. And then I decided, okay, to do rentals for personal, private people is not for me. So I started doing more commercials. So I was able to work with companies, with CEOs who were looking for branches, let's say cafes and clothing stores. They were looking for new stores. So I helped them to, find new locations. It was okay, but still, I was looking for something better, something more organized. I have an MBA, so, I think I can do something a little better than, struggling and fighting with people over my commission. And then I decided, okay, I want to move to USA. And I had my American passport because my mom was born in America. So I always had my American passport, but I never used it. It was in my drawer, and I barely even traveled to US. I didn't know anybody here.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2016, my wife and I moved to Florida without knowing anybody, no connections, no nothing. And we started, to build a life here. I really wanted to do real estate, so I had so much motivation, which I think that's everything, to be motivated. And I really worked hard, like 12, 13, 14 hours a day. I learned a lot. I watched YouTube all the time. There was no podcast like that, but like mostly YouTube about people who are succeeding, what they do, how they do it. I learned the map by heart, like to know all the area where I work, South Florida. I learned the map, and I made connections with people through the Facebook or through other blogs. And I didn't know anybody. I didn't have clients. My English is not, my mother language. So with all that struggle and challenge, what I did, I started learning, and meanwhile, I recorded everything I did. So I did videos of me showing places, going to open houses, and I went to courses. If you're a realtor, you can go to free classes that teach you some, about marketing, about how to survive the first year, about social media. So everything I did, I recorded. And I used the Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and everything to show people. So I didn't know if it's going to work or not, but, I just did it. So everything I recorded, every cool house I did. So the best thing, the one that really helped me out, I went to Porsche Design Tower. You heard about this building in Sunny Isles?
Sure have.
So they launched it in 2017. It's a fancy building, like there are many of them in Miami. But this one specifically, there are elevators who lift up your car into your actually unit. So you can park your car on the 42nd floor in your unit. And it's a gimmick. It's like very cool marketing gimmick.
I mean, if you leave something in your car, you don't have to take the elevator to the parking lot. It's pretty nice.
So I knew it's going to be like, wow, especially to the Israeli audience. So I went to see an apartment. Obviously, as a realtor, I have an access to all listings for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to this building. I started recording. I sent it to somebody to edit it for me. And I just posted it on Facebook one day. And I didn't know if people will like it or not. But then I went to sleep. I woke up the day after. You don't believe it. I had about 1,500 new friend requests. Not likes. People want, ask me to be a friend
from
on
the
Facebook.
video.
From a video.
And you put this video on Facebook?
I put it on Facebook, on a few groups. 1,500 friend requests, thousands of comments and likes, and oh my God, it was like booming. And I had a journalist from Israel, from Israel Hayom. It's a very famous...
Yeah, I know Israel Hayom, yeah.
No? So he contacted me, listen, I loved your video, can I use it? He said, okay, just don't forget to give me some credit. Sure. So he put it on Israel Hayom.
Did he pay you for it or something?
He didn't pay. I didn't ask for money, but just asked for credit. So that gave me like boost. So many people started, following me on social media.
Wow.
And I like that. So I started doing more and more video. That was like the most successful video. And I reached over 1 million views. And it was in Hebrew. By the way, the whole video was in Hebrew.
Uh-huh.
So everything, in a small audience, like only the Israeli Hebrew-speaking people.
Did you get any buyers for it, though?
Not specifically direct to this building, but indirect buyers.
Yes. I got you.
Get to know me, and they bought like different stuff and started, following me. It's a long relationship, to sell houses and investment and stuff. You don't get a phone call, done deal, sell something. I have some investors that I sold them after 3, 4, 5 years that we know each other, They follow me. We talk from time to time. I send them listing. And then they say, okay, now it's not good timing. I'm out of the market. Okay. Then 8 months after, they told me, okay, now we got some money. We sold a property in New York or California. Now we have some money. Let's do something together. You know, it's not easy to find the right timing for the right buyer. But finally, when it goes, you know, you can sell like crazy deals.
That's why it's so important to build as big of a network as possible, because if you have one client that wants to buy in 8 months, but you have 100 other people in your 100 isn't even a lot. I mean, you at this point you probably have 1,000 more. You have thousands of people. So you have your Facebook page, which you're going to get into.
Yes,
over 20,000 people follow you.
Yes, I have a Facebook page called Nadlan in Miami. Nadlan in Hebrew is real estate, so real estate in Miami. And I have many followers on Facebook, and every time I have a new deal, an off-market deal, a below-market one, so I post it there instead of, you know, start sending to all my clients and, you know, annoy them with all this spam, you can call it. So I just put it on my Facebook page. If you like, you can follow me. If you don't like, you can unfollow. But then, you know, whenever I have a great deal, then I get like so many people contacting me, ask me questions, and sometimes that's how I close deals. You know, I post on my Facebook page or my business Facebook, and people contact me whenever I have a deal that is good for them, and it's a great way.
For sure. Yeah, it's awesome. That's a lot of people. Over 20,000
I think
people.
it's all about numbers, especially me, because I work with investors. So I don't know, it might be a little different than end users. But for investors, it's, you know, the more exposure you get, it's easier to find the right person who wants that specific deal that you have right now. And if you post something and you get so much exposure, like 20,000 people see that, all you need is one serious, you know, ready buyer for that.
That's the truth, yeah. It's crazy that there are a lot of realtors, a lot of them that are older, that don't know technology. They're really, really falling behind.
Yeah.
Because if you're not leveraging social media in your business, in any business right now, whether it's restaurant, real estate, anything, you're losing out.
Yeah, you need
really
to know how to do it these days. I see, because I have lots of network also for real estate agents who are 20, 30 years older than us. And I see that it's very hard for them to keep up with the new technology, with how the real estate market is working these days. You know, when I got into Florida 5-6 years ago, and I didn't know nothing, and I asked for advice from older agents to ask how you guys do business. So they gave me some ideas that they're not working. Like, go print out magnets, start, you know, deliver them to people to put on the fridge. This is not working anymore. Like, you need to use the technology, the social media for you. All these podcasts and YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok is newer now. But also you need to be all over.
You know why it's so important? Because you leave it there forever. Meaning sometimes you put out a video, it doesn't hit for 2 years, and then all of a sudden it just, boom.
Yeah.
People start sharing it, the algorithm decides to throw it around. You just never know. So if you're constantly putting out new content,
you need to be consistent.
You need to be consistent, man.
Because at the start, you might not see like results, not enough views, not enough likes. So people, you know, they give up. They say, okay, it's not working, I'm not good at it, whatever. But you need to be consistent and keep doing, even though you don't have the reaction. It doesn't mean it's not good. It just, you start building an audience.
And all it takes is one video, all it takes is one client, right?
Yeah.
So like with this, it's just a matter of that. Especially if you love it, you'll keep doing it. If you hate every day of it, then you're going to give up. You know, that's also very important.
Another thing, I feel that I did it in 2015, 2016, it was kind of unique. But now, these days, 5-6 years after, to be honest with you, now I see all over like realtors and entrepreneurs that they do the same thing that I did 6 years ago. Now you can see all over people try to teach about real estate and to show they do great, but now, you know, the market is full of that. So it's not so special, and now you need to be, again, creative, do something new, because now everybody else is, you know, every time you need to think one step ahead. What is new? What else nobody else done? You need to be, I think creativity is a great way for marketing, and always think what now to do, what other people never thought about, how I can advertise it differently.
I think humor is actually important. humor, if you can be funny, but not funny to the point where you don't look professional, but people see you're still funny and you're professional, it kind of can set you apart a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's some agents that do that. There's this guy I had on, Jonathan Vega. He's very funny. He puts a lot of humor into his content, but he's still very professional. He knows his businesses. So
It's
I
right,
think
but you
that's
need to be super careful with that. Like you mentioned, right? To the certain point, because some people don't have the limit.
Exactly.
And they can show themselves, unprofessionally. So you need to really know how to do it and do it very well. And because it's tricky, some people. I saw some videos of realtors. They don't look good at what they do because they try harder. But sometimes it doesn't work. So that's correct what you mentioned.
Yeah, it's very important. I did a quirky video. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. But I put out a video a couple of months ago. I was sitting in the back of the building, and I was sitting in my chair. I was sitting in like a beach chair. I put it all together. I had a drink.
I love it.
You saw that one?
That was great.
But
that was great.
But it was a little bit of humor. But then I got up and I spoke, and it wasn't perfect. I definitely could have improved it. My speech, the thing I prepared could have been better.
This video, yeah,
but
it was in your first or second month of work,
very
right?
new. I was really, really new.
And you already did a very nice, professional, funny, yeah. That's.
And I got business from it, man.
Yeah?
I got business from it. Yes, I did.
By the way, you don't always can keep track or the business that you get from a specific video. Like my strategy is to advertise all over, and then people call me. I don't even know where they come from, and I stop asking even,
right.
Because you're not doing something, invest, put like $1,000 for a video, and then expect to get this return back. It doesn't work this way. You have to keep investing here and there and different ways, and then somehow now I'm at a point that my phone keep ringing all day, and I don't even know why and how, but I keep advertising. Some of my advertisements maybe are not very great and not so successful, but overall, because of the consistency, so somehow people keep knowing you and reaching you and ask about you,
They keep seeing your name. Your name
Exactly.
continues to stick in their mind. Eyal.
Yeah,
Eyal. So they're like, if I'm going to call somebody, it's going to be Eyal. They have to be thinking of that when they're on the bathroom taking a poop. I'm saying it straight up. Like they're like, who am I gonna call? You know what I mean? So it's
you need
just
to be in their mind and keep on doing it. It's not enough that you
always
did one great video with 1 million views and that's it. It's been 4 years since then, so I need to keep doing every week something new, something else.
Absolutely.
They don't remember you from 4 years ago, but if they keep seeing your name, so when they need someone to sell or buy their house, then they contact you.
With what happened in Surfside, how do you think that's going to change the condo market in South Florida?
That was a very big tragedy, unexpected. Nobody still knows what happened. Like that was a very sad incident that nobody. I don't know what happened, but now of course the market will change in a way that more regulations will be on those condos. Now there is only 40 years certificate. After they build the condo, first 40 years, nobody comes to inspect, do nothing. So after 40 years, they need to get the certificate. So that building was exactly 40 years old, and it was in a process of renovating. They just did a new roof and stuff. But I believe that now they will do like more often of inspections. That's one thing. And also, I think that people now a little bit, I hear people that are a little bit, nervous about living in condos. They shouldn't. Like, it's not something that can happen again, or it happens once in a lifetime, and it's really weird the way it happened. How it's going to change the market, I don't think it's going to change so much.
That's what I think.
Because I tell you what, people have like very short memory.
It's exactly what I think.
Now everybody is thinking and talking about it, but I tell you, in a year from now, they're going to build something new there, and okay, the standard of building will be a little bit more strict, but that's it.
It's exactly
it's
what
like
I
the
thought.
hurricane that happened like 50, 60 years ago. So, people don't mention it. They keep coming to Florida, and Florida is still number one positive immigration state in the U.S., and, people don't say, okay, in Florida there are hurricanes, so I'm scared of coming,
I think the exact same thing. In 9/11 happened in New York. Are people not living there right now? When it first happened, people were probably freaking out, right? They're like, this can happen again. There might be all these terrorist attacks happening. In the moment, you're scared.
Yeah.
Even for me, it didn't concern me, but for a lot of people, they're worried. Over time, like you said, your brain kind of forgets. You realize that, hey, buildings aren't going to start falling down. Unfortunately, it was a tragedy. It happened, but the likelihood of all these units these buildings just collapsing, it's not a reality.
I think they will be more strict, so everything will be more
That is a good
safe
thing. That is a good
and-
thing. That is definitely a good thing, because it should be, they should make sure that each building is strong and,
But also, if you want to hear, I also see, not because of that incident, but people are looking here in Florida more for houses and townhouses and less of an apartment. So this is something I see this shift since the COVID, that people are more interested in buying houses
Yeah, for sure.
and lots and big lands, and so you don't have this condominium association that control you and tell you what to do and ask you to pay HOA, home ownership association, or special assessment from time to time. You are the owner of your own house and you do all the renovation, you take care of everything. So this is the shift that I see before what happened in Surfside, but COVID helped it more, because after COVID, people don't like all these common areas and the elevator and this all pull together. So this is something that I do realize recently.
I think a large reason that's happening is because COVID made people want to move more to suburbia. A lot of people who were living in big cities, they wanted to be more spread apart. A lot of it because of the fear of COVID, so they want the social distancing and all that. But people just kind of wanted that space. They were
And now
they
when
were
they
spending,
can work from home, so it's easier. Why would they pay so much money for a small studio in New York if for the same price they can come here to Florida and for $500,000 buy a huge house with a pool and an office inside and everything? So I see a crazy movement from New York and California to Florida.
Yeah, as long as they don't vote in the same idiots that they did there, then
I agree.
Then we'll be fine. Which unfortunately a lot of them probably will, but let's hope they don't. Which is crazy to me. I don't get why that happens, but listen, I don't know. But so yeah, with everything going on, Florida is definitely an amazing market to be in right now. And one thing that's interesting that I was talking to a very, very close friend of mine, shout out to you, Itamar, is he was telling me that he's a realtor in New York. And the normal commissions are 3 to 4% there.
Wow.
Here it's 5 to 6. Here it's really 6 is the standard. 5 is happens
For
definitely.
two agents, it's important to mention that when you say 5 to 6.
Yeah, let me explain. Some people don't know. Yeah, you're right. So what that means is generally I'm not sure how it works in New York, but here in Florida, the seller generally pays both sides. So there's a buyer's agent, and then there's a listing agent, the agent who's helping to sell the property. So in Florida, generally, there's 3% to one agent, 3 to the other. It's all up for negotiation, but that's the standard. In New York, it's 1.5 to each agent or 2 to each agent, which is considerably less. So
why do you think it's less than here?
I'll tell you very simply. In New York, it's such an aggressive market. The agents there are more likely. New York in general, the one thing I can say is people in New York have a better work ethic. There are people in Florida that work hard. I've come across a lot of them. A lot of them. When you're working hard, you meet other people who are working hard. When you're lazy, you meet other lazy people. That's my feeling. So the agents that are doing well, but the large majority of them aren't. Okay, and this is what I've learned from very successful agents that I know, and just from my experience.
It's more competitive?
So I think it's more competitive, and because it's more competitive, you have quality agents in New York that are willing to take such a large dip in commission that's what's become the standard. And it's a shame because
so a few agents lead that market, right?
They set the standard.
They set the standard. They're willing to work, to do the same job for half the commission, then other agents have no option.
They
so
have
they have
to
to
do
the
that.
same.
And any client, any seller who knows the market, knows what goes on, says, well, I have James Anderson, who's one of the best agents in New York, who's accepting it for 3%. I'm not paying you 5%. Yeah. This agent has a better track record than you, and he's willing to do this and this and that. So that's crazy. So I'm very happy that in Florida, at least you can, your work goes a lot further. I mean, housing prices on average are lower here, but there are a ton of luxury apartments, houses.
And those luxury
lots.
apartments, they always set 3% and 3%. By the way, they don't give up because you think, okay, this is a $10 million house. Maybe they give only 4% commission. No, the opposite. They always pay 6%, even more. If you buy new development on a fancy building and the apartment costs $5 million, the developer pay you 7% for one agent to sell it. So it's not like in Florida, even when the prices are high, commission stays the same.
Why do you think that? Obviously, they have the money to do it, but why do you think they're willing to pay so much? And
Because
I have my
it's very
answer.
hard to sell those units. I think it's not easy. Like to find someone who is willing and able to pay that amount. You need to give some incentive, and usually the agents who work in this industry are really experienced and professionals, so they won't work for less than that.
I think also people who are wealthy understand something very simple. And this is something I didn't understand for most of my life, is that depending on what it is, but in many situations, you get what you pay for. If you're always trying to save a penny here and save a penny there, you're going to miss out on certain things. Really many things, specifically with a product or service, if you do your due diligence and you know you have either a good realtor, a good contractor, whatever the case may be, if you pay the right price for it, and obviously you do some research and see that that person's able to get the job done, if you pay them what they're worth, they're going to do a much better job.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and you get more in the long run. So, of course, it's hard to cough over 6% versus 3%, but if you know that that person is qualified and they're going to get that job done quickly, efficiently, and properly, you win in the long run. So, when people with that kind of wealth and success, I think their large reason they became that successful is because they understand how important that is.
Yeah.
You know, because you try to save that money, you hire the wrong person, they do a bad job. Now you have to spend the time finding someone else. You know, and I think that's important. So yeah, and it's funny now that we're talking about luxury markets. I thought, and tell me if you agree, I thought that the luxury markets were harder. When I first started, I was like, yeah, it's probably a lot harder to do luxury because it's, you know, they're wealthier clients and they're strict, you know, they have more expectations and blah, 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 which could be true. I did my research and this is what I concluded, and this is what makes so much sense. I think the luxury market is harder to get into, and it's a much smaller pool, right? It's more exclusive. But once you can meet the right people and build that tree in the luxury market and get yourself into it, it's most likely easier to do those transactions because both sides of the transaction have money. The buyer has money, the seller has money. There are going to be less issues with the unit or house, most likely, right? Because if they have money, if it's a $5 million house, you're probably not going to have roof leaks and all these other things. Probably much less likely than a $300K house, right? They're not going to be as nitpicky for every penny. I'm sure there are situations where they are like that, but more or less, they're probably more reasonable. And they're like, okay, I'm not going to sit and waste weeks of my time right now on $1,000. So at the end of the day, they see something and makes sense. They get it done. The difficult part for a lot of realtors, I think, is getting into that market because you have to be a certain person. And I'm not in it. Thank God I really believe I'm getting there very quickly as a newer agent. But you have to look the part. You have to dress the part. You can't be. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but when I see people in luxury, realtors that are only working in luxury, they usually look good. They're fit. They dress well. They speak eloquently. They're charismatic. There's a lot of those things that they have that your average person doesn't have, and even if they do have it, it'll take them a very long time to get there. Whereas a lot of these luxury agents, they naturally have this aura about them where a very wealthy seller, wants to work with them because they feel confident that that person will bring the right buyer.
You need to be super professional and to show knowledge, and you cannot ask them any question that they don't know the answer. Like they need to be super knowledgeable because those buyers and sellers wealthy, they work with them, you know, usually they did something in their life if they have so much money. So they work with so many other people and they can tell first impression if you're the agent or not. They can tell if you're professional, you have the knowledge, you fit their needs. But for the smaller one, for apartments that cost like 150, 200K, you know, they don't have high expectations from the agent as well because they understand they don't pay them so much. And I see around me that some people wants to sell the 150 apartment, they just give it to a neighbor or to the brother or to people who have the license, and they never do any real estate just because they're close to them and they feel like they need to give it to them. But in the high luxury market, you don't see that stuff. Nobody gives the uncle the listing just because he's a family.
Exactly.
He wants to see that the agent who works for them, who represents them, who can save them so much money, is super professional and he knows everything, and he done transactions and sales in this area, in this price range as well. So
Exactly.
I see that they expect you a lot, and they're absolutely right. If I had the $5 million house, I wouldn't give it to anyone. Give it to somebody who can show me results, who sold already.
So you agree with me that it's not necessarily that it's so much harder to do the transaction necessarily. It's harder to become credible.
I think that for new agents, you need to gain the experience. You can jump and start with luxury, because I see some new agents who just got their license, and they take a calculator and they check how much is 3% for a $10 million house, and then they say, okay, I just need to close once a year. But it doesn't work that way. You need to close like 100 deals, regular ones, like 200, 500, 600K, to gain the experience, to make some mistakes, to learn. Because when you go to this field, you need to be like 100% professional, not like 90%.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have space for mistakes, and you can go to your broker and ask him questions. You need to do everything by yourself and show confidence, and to be 100%, give them the best price for the house, best value.
I think it's inevitable that you're going to make mistakes, but you want to try to make them as little as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's at the expense of somebody's potentially their biggest asset. I mean, if they're very, very successful and they have multiple investments and whatever, but regardless, you're selling a property, even if it's $100,000. As a realtor, we look at, it's a $100,000 property. $100,000 is not nothing. It's still a considerable amount of money. So even if you're representing someone for something that's in the real estate world, a very small property,
you need to be professional as well, of course.
No matter what, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I didn't mean you can make mistakes. I'm just saying, in order to reach the $10 million, and you work with so wealthy people, you have to act, to be even more professional.
Without a doubt. You can't show up in a t-shirt. I mean,
and that's why it takes time. I don't feel like new agents can do it in the very first beginning, but maybe I'm wrong. It's also kind of, if you have the environment and you get the leads. But because I started very low, that's why when I just came here and I told you I didn't know people, I started to do everything. I never said no to any lead, even for rentals, small rentals. And I sold my first or second sale was $60,000 apartment in North Miami Beach building. And with the time, you gain more experience, you start go for the higher properties. And I like the way that you establish, the base, and then you start going up. I feel it's a little better to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So you gain experience, and now after a few years, I feel comfortable to sell any kind of property.
Okay, I think that's definitely a good way to do it. For me, I definitely won't turn down a luxury property. I'll learn as I go, and I'm willing to take the hit for whatever. I mean, I understand that if I'm selling a very expensive unit and I make a mistake, it's on me, and I'm going to have to deal with that because it's at the expense of my client. But ultimately, it also pushes me much harder. So if I have a $5 million house, if a seller meets me, let's say like I said, I have them on my podcast and we get along. If they ask me how long I'm in real estate, I'm absolutely telling them, 11 months. And I want them to know that. And if they decide not to work with me, that's okay. But I'm going to show them how I am valuable. And again, if they feel I'm not, then that's fine, But because I have such an expensive house that I'm working with, I know that I have to really, really put 10 times more work. Not to say that I shouldn't work hard on a smaller unit, but there's a lot on the line right now.
Yeah.
This client cannot afford any mistakes. So I need to do everything. I need to do serious due diligence. I need to look at the neighborhood, do very serious comps, really do proper marketing, make sure that everything is good, When I put out the description on the MLS, send it to him or her, make sure that they approve of it. If they want anything else changed, the pictures look impeccable. Video looks impeccable. Everything is good. So I mean, that's really, I think too, so I agree with you. At the same time, my feeling is I will take those opportunities if I can get them, because it'll really
As a real
challenge
estate,
me.
of course,
It'll really challenge
of course
me.
you will say yes because you
Right.
want it.
Right.
But you need to know where you're going through, and maybe a good advice if you're quite new and you take this crazy expensive house, maybe you want to have like some partner with you, another agent from the office, or even your broker, and see how you
Co-list.
can work together to do everything. So
I was thinking that if
yeah.
I actually did that on one of my listings. The one I was telling you with the land, I co-listed with
Yeah.
an agent does very well in my office, because I have never done something like that, and I said better that I have somebody work with me. I'm willing to forego, give up half the commission, but I know that my clients have two people working on it and somebody who's a lot,
Exactly.
So if I have a big property like that, I may very well get somebody to do it with me, so I can learn.
Yeah.
I can learn from them, and then in the future
And
I'll
you have
feel
a
confident.
backup, so you're not worried if you do something not 100% right, you get the backup from the other person.
Exactly.
And you share, and it's better to do more deals and to share them.
Okay, so listen, next time I get the $5 million listing, you're saying you want it? You tell me.
Always.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, so I think we covered a lot of ground. What do you
Yeah.
think? Is there anything else on your mind that you kind of wanted to kind of go over?
If you guys want to follow me.
Oh, I was gonna say that anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna attach any social media links you want. Definitely
Okay,
Instagram,
we'll do that.
Facebook, and everything else. Definitely check out his Facebook group Nadlan in Miami. Like we said before, it has over 20,000 followers, people that follow the page. Is there anything else? Any other things you want people to look at?
Not just for investors. I would say that for investors, if you want to do a great deal, the earn on the investment is when you buy. When you buy well, when you buy below market, that's where you earn. After that, you can do whatever you want. You can sell, you can rent out, you can do Airbnb. But when you buy, let's say the market is 500, you buy it for 400, you already did great job. That's the most important part. I'm not saying it's easy. That's why you need the realtors to find you the deal. But that's the way to make money, to earn.
To buy under market, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've been hearing also. Okay. Guys, again, subscribe, like, share. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you gained a lot of knowledge from it. Whether you decide to hire Eyal or me, or hopefully both, hopefully we can do a transaction together. That'd be wonderful. There's no shortage of business, so I'm never worried about these things. It's all a matter of working hard. There's plenty of business for everybody. So, Eyal, thank you so much for coming, brother.
Thank you for inviting me.
My absolute pleasure. Guys, as always, Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern, we have new episodes. I look forward to having you as a listener on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.